I get angry, so I actually had to go to anger management, and that's what I did. Last year, I had a course in anger management, and they taught us how to, if I'm going to get into an argument with anybody, is to get out the way, and I find it helpful.
If I'm honest, I hate conflict, but because of the jobs that I've done, leading organisations and sales operations and businesses, you have to deal with conflict. The best advice I could give anybody is to nip things in the bud early, is say things before they get out of control, is be open and honest really, because then you avoid conflict, but you avoid conflict by having conflict, if you understand what I mean. But have the conflicts early. It's easier to solve a small problem than it is to solve a big problem, and if you don't confront something early enough, you'll end up with a big problem later.
I've had some confrontations that I'm not proud of. I've had some fisticuff battles that I'm not proud of, but it's never been, it wasn't a situation where I caused the problem, it was a situation where I tried to diffuse the problem, and the blows were thrown, and it was like, you can throw your blows, but I've got a right to defend myself, so. But no, I've had some real bad arguments, and I've lost, as I said earlier, I've lost some friends over arguments, and I'm not always right. But it's not very often I'm wrong.
Loads of arguments. I'm terrible, I am. I fight for my corner with everything and anything. If I treat people right, and I expect to be treated the way I treat people, and it doesn't happen. And if somebody says something, I only had something the other day on eBay, and I've made 6 phone calls over this, and I said, this person told me that this was going to happen, and it's not.
I had an argument with my mother many, many years ago because she bought both bikes. She had a tandem bike in blue and in red, and mine was blue. And no, it's the other way around. Hers was blue and mine was red. And she bought a really heavy bike, and I wanted a racing bike. And I always was annoyed that she bought this really heavy bike that I found very difficult to ride. And then when I was about 14 or 15, a friend of mine from school was selling his racing bike, and I wanted a racing bike. And I said I wanted this bike. And my dad said, well, if you want that racing bike, you have to sell your train set. I said, what? He said, if you want the right, he says, you've had this, that, and the other this year. If you want a racing bike, you've got to pay for it, so you have to sell something. And I had to sell my train set. It's the one thing that I've always really been annoyed about and angry with my dad about.
It was a geezer. When I was into gear, there was a geezer that used to come around with videos, and he'd give you some to hire out to your neighbours. And because I was a junkie at the time, I got a bit behind. They come from Essex, these geezers, and you don't muck about with geezers from Essex. And I just got myself an old motor, and I didn't have the money to pay him, so he went, all right, he went away. Got up next morning, I went out to get the car, all my windows were smashed. I knew straight away who'd done it. All my windows were smashed. I phoned him, I said I'll get the money in a couple of days. Went over to his house, me and my brother. It was late at night and we had the money, and we knocked on his door. His missus come to the door, and the geezer's jumped out behind her, and he's got this pole with a chain, like you see in these Hercules films with the thing sticking out the ball. And the geezer was going to go into one, and we had the money. I'm not glad we did have the money, but he didn't know who it was at first. He thought someone was having a go at the door.
So it's a medieval mace?
Yeah, that's it, yeah. With them metal spike things on that ball at the end of the chain, and they got the wooden bit, haven't they? One of them, I don't know if they're still mad over there, but they used to be mad.
Domestics, probably. I think once I've spent all my wages on a sports car, and I didn't tell my wife until I got home, because I was so desperate. I passed my test and I wanted a sports car, and one came up in the paper when I was at work and it was payday. It was really naughty. I got some flack for that. It was a Spitfire, a Mark II Triumph Spitfire. She was all right a few weeks later when we recovered.
What were you having an argument about then?
We'll argue about anything. It's not often that I'll start it. Somebody can say something to me and I'll just kick off for no reason whatsoever. And I hate myself for it.
Give me an idea of the smallest thing you've had an argument.
About not putting any sugar in my coffee when they've made me one. And it's gone on for 2 or 3 hours. I don't want to lose an argument, and the person involved don't want to lose an argument. I'll turn around and I'll say, right, if you don't put my sugar in my coffee, you'll be wearing it